There we go.
There we go. We're live.
Hi, everyone. Very happy to welcome Fiona. How do you pronounce your surname, Fiona?
Leitch. You
Leitch.
would not believe the mangled pronunciations I've had. I've had Leitch, Leitch, all sorts, but it's Leitch. It rhymes with bleach. So,
Okay. Do you want to start us off with an intro to you and your books?
Okay. Well, I am Fiona Leitch, not Leitch, and I write cozy-ish crime, I would say. I'm probably best known for the Jodie Parker Cornish murder mysteries, of which the latest has just come out. That one there came out a couple of weeks ago. I started writing those in the first one came out in 2021, and we're now up to, that book's number 7, and I'm writing book 8 at the moment, which is out next year. And I've written a couple of other, one standalone book and another kind of mini series where there's 2 books, and they're kind of more cozy adjacent, I would say, in as much as they're funny, but there's a lot of swearing, particularly in one of them, which is a big no-no for cozy crime, and a little bit of gore, but not too much. But again, a big no-no for cozy crime. So yeah, so that's probably what I'm best known for, is the Cornish murder mystery series.
But to be fair, whenever I see your books posted about, it's always the Cornish
murder
mystery series.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, those are the ones that I write for HarperCollins, so they're the ones that get all the love and attention. And my other books, I'll show you one of them. So this is Dead in Venice, which is about a crime writer, a 40-something crime writer from South London who swears a lot. So I don't know where I got that character from. That's a self-published one, so that kind of gets a little bit less attention. Although I will have some massive news about Dead in Venice and the follow-up book, but I can't tell you yet. I was hoping that I would be able to. I'm just going to tease. It's mind-blowing.
It's massive and mind-blowing, and we're going to find out eventually.
Well, as soon as I'm allowed to talk about it, you'll know, because I will just be all over social media like a cheap suit, just going on and on about this amazing news. But I can't really say anything else.
We love a bit of amazing news.
But yeah, I will pass it on as soon as I get it. But yeah, the Cornish ones, they're written for One More Chapter, which is a digital first imprint of HarperCollins. And like I said, I started writing those. I actually started writing those during lockdown. And that was back in 2020. I was living in New Zealand at the time. And it was quite funny. There's me living on the other side of the world, writing about Cornwall. But you know, it was nice because it kind of made me think about home and all that kind of thing while I was shut away indoors in Auckland. But yeah, so I started writing those 2020. Like the first one came out in 2021, and did all right, but it wasn't really until book 4, which was the Cornish Christmas murder, that it really took off. And I think probably a lot of that is to do with the rise of a certain Mr. Osman, whose books are in a quite similar sort of vein to mine. But I have to say mine came out first, so I'm not copying him, he's copying me. And I think with his books, cozy crime and cozy sort of murder mysteries have become even more kind of popular, certainly in the UK. So that really helped my sales as well. So it all really took off then. So I love it because anytime someone buys a Richard Osman book on Amazon say to them, "Oh, if you like that, you'll like this as well." So I've sold a lot off of the back of Richard Osman, which is very kind of him. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm best known for. Those are the ones that get all the marketing. and all the love. So yeah.
Well, before we dig into those, because I did read a Cornish
Mm.
one in preparation for this interview.
I know, I was impressed. I saw that and I thought, oh, that's what actually made me think, oh, our talk must be coming up soon. Catherine's read it.
You'll probably work out what I'm going to be interviewing soon by what I've read in the group. To be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on a bit of a binge of like author chat books at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm reading about 4 different things, but some of them are like, I was at 5 different things at the weekend, one of which was yours. So I'm doing well. It's going down.
You need to stop talking to people. That's the thing, isn't it?
Essentially. But you said you had some cozy adjacent ones. So you talked about Death in Venice. Did you say there were some other little series as well?
Yeah, well, that's Dead in Venice. Dead in Venice was my first ever attempt at writing a book. And I didn't really know that cozy crime even existed. So Dead in Venice is basically, it's a serial killer rom-com, really, because it's funny. And there is like a romantic subplot, but it's also got a serial killer in it. Because why not? I like all those things. Why not have them all in one book? But when I wrote that, I got an agent through writing that. She loved the book, and we sent it out to a lot of publishers, and they all loved it, but they were a bit scared because there were so many different kind of genres involved in it. And publishers love to say, well, if I went into Waterstones, it would go on the crime shelf or it would go on the rom-com shelf, whereas this kind of wouldn't really go anywhere. So I then wrote a follow-up to Dead in Venice, but I kind of toned it down a little bit so it was less gory. So it was probably more, it was like I say, cozy adjacent, because it kind of didn't have the gore in it. It still had a little bit of bad language, but no F-bombs, which the other one was full of. And so I would kind of say that was sort of cozy adjacent. I would also say really that even the Cornish ones they're not like a lot of cozy mystery books, particularly like American cozy mysteries tend to be, I don't want to use the word twee because that's not actually quite right, but they're a bit more innocent, I think, and a little bit kind of less realistic. And I think these books are quite realistic still. I think they feel like real people in them. Well, that's certainly what I've tried to do. That's what a lot of my readers say. And I do still cover some quite dark topics in the books. I don't go into masses of detail about things, but there's kind of like dark undertones to it, which I think is not necessarily typical of cozy mysteries. Again, like with the Richard Osman books, he's got some quite dark stuff in there as well. I would kind of class his as being cozy adjacent rather than full on cozy crime. So I think in a way, cozy crime has got, particularly amongst kind of hardcore crime readers, I think it's got a bit of a bad reputation as being like a bit daft and a bit soft and all that kind of thing. And to me, that's not really what it is. I mean, I wouldn't say that these are daft or anything like that. There's no strong swear words in. There are some swear words in them. My publisher wanted me to kind of really cut all of them out so that they would appeal to the American market, and the American market don't like any swearing at all. They don't like blasphemy or anything like that. And I just said, nah, I can't do that. If you find a body, you're not going to say gosh, are you? At the very least, you're going to say bloody hell, there's a dead body. So I kept stuff like that in it. But there's no really sort of foul language, and things like the murders and that can be a little bit gruesome, but they happen off the page, so you don't get the description of it. And really, to me, that's the main thing. The main difference between kind of your grittier crime fiction and a lot of certainly UK cozier crime is just the nasty stuff You don't see it. You hear about it, you don't see it. It's not on the page. It's kind of off screen. So yeah, that's how I would describe my books anyway. So
I've got so many questions just based on that. Well, while I'm formulating which one I want to ask you first, we've got Sarah said hello.
Hello.
I'm curious as to how your publishers wanted you to cut out some of the swear words because of the American audience when you've got the van that they drive around in the first book. How did that pass through? Because surely that would be more offensive to them.
I know. I mean, like, for anyone that obviously hasn't read them yet, in the first book, Jodie needs a van for her new catering business, and the only one she can afford is one that's being sold by a bloke down the road who has had to close his, shall we say, adult toy shop. And there's a bit of a decal on the side, and even after she's taken it off, it's still, you can see the outline of a bloke holding a whip, basically. And her teenage daughter christens it the Gimpmobile. I think the thing is, my publisher wanted me to kind of do all these things for the US market, but although I do sell quite a lot in the US, most of my readers are from the UK, and they've all got a sense of humour. I mean, we laugh at stuff like that, don't we? I think maybe US readers would be more likely to be offended. But having said that, none of them have said they are, and my readers will tell me if they're offended. I've had emails about things, but no one's actually said anything about that. I think the British, we laugh a lot about sex, don't we? Really, you know, we all like a bit of a double entendre. So I think the Gimpmobile kind of just, I think the publishers, I think they were too busy laughing at it to actually say, oh, you shouldn't really have that. So I went with that. But I mean, things like the swearing and everything. Like I said, they didn't want me to put any in at all, and I just had to say, look, I can't, because it just won't be realistic. So I said, I need to have like bloody hell or something in it at least. So as the series has gone on, I've managed to sneak a few more in because it feels more realistic. So it's like I had a shit in a later book, and that was fine. No one said anything. So yeah, I have kind of joked that when I get to the very last book in the series, which I don't know when that will be because I'm quite happy to keep writing them, the very last word will be an F-bomb, just to get it off my chest so that Jodie can finally swear properly. But yeah, we'll see.
And then I was thinking about what you said about Richard Osman and yours being more realistic. And thankfully, this is going to remind me for Sarah, who's watching. I talked to Jonathan Hall a while ago, and he said that like his books, because they're cozy, aren't they?
Yeah, Jonathan's lovely. Yeah.
And he said his books are like everyday evil.
Yes.
So he finds them more terrifying because it's kind of stuff that could happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So some of the crimes that you read are kind of very, you know, they're not going to touch your everyday life, whereas the things he writes about do affect lots of people. You probably do know someone who's been affected by them.
Yeah, absolutely.
He finds that scarier than like a serial killer.
That's it. It's like if you
I wonder if that's what you're saying as well, because like you, even when in Richard Osman, that you're right, there are some quite dark moments, but is it because they're actually people that you might know?
Yeah, that's it. And there's situations, you know, that could happen to you, or you know, you might not know your next door neighbour is, you know, what do they actually get up to? You talk to them over the garden fence, but what do they do when they go indoors? You don't know. But it's the things that are like, you know, kind of serial killers who go around leaving like a playing card on the victim and all this sort of thing. They're scary and they can be quite gory and everything. And they are scary. But I think sometimes it's like you said, it's kind of, it doesn't feel like it would ever happen to you. So you kind of got that little bit of a remove because you know that it's fiction.
But someone defrauding like your older parent or, you know, things that happen in yours, they're more likely to actually happen.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. I mean, Jonathan's books, they're brilliant. I love them because they've got a lot of humour, which most cozy mysteries have got some sort of humour in them. They're brilliant, and the characters. I mean, I think you really get to care about the characters in cozy mysteries, because I've had a few of my readers have said that whenever they read the next book, it's like they're catching up with old friends, which is lovely. I mean, that's just such a compliment. It's so flattering that they feel like that. But it is kind of, that's it. That's what you want, is someone that it does feel like it could be real life, and these could be real people. And I think Jonathan's books are a perfect example of that as well. I love them. They're great.
They are. The other reason I reminded myself of that is because I have a book for Sarah from Jonathan to drop off at Harrogate. So it's nice, like it's reminding me. It's like inside, I can see it, but I will forget it.
Don't forget it.
So Sarah, if you're watching, you need to remind me on Friday night to put it in my bag, because I will forget.
Yeah. I do that. Yeah.
I forget everything. I leave notes.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I'm a teacher, and we are on our whiteboard. We have loads of notes, and the kids are like, "What have you got written on there?" And we're like, "It's so we remember things." We've got little notes written for ourselves.
But then you forget to look at the note board. So like,
it won't. And then you prove that your characters work so much. This is also on my Kindle.
Oh, excellent. Lovely.
I finished book 1 and downloaded the next one. So I don't know what people were saying. You get sold into the characters, the little dog that she adopts as well. I was like, no, I need to know if they keep the dog. Like,
I'm saying nothing. But you can't kill off a dog, can you? You can't get rid of a dog. That's all I'm saying. The dog's probably quite safe. So.
Yeah, but is it going to carry on living with them?
Wow. You'll just have to read it, won't you? And
it's waiting to be read.
Yeah.
I need to stop reading some of the other 4 things I'm currently reading, and then I can start something else. I'm trying not to serial start another 500 books.
Yeah. Well, you've only got another 5 books after that one of this series, so you're all right there. I won't take you long.
I know. I genuinely feel like this is, when you discover an author and you read a book. I did this with Debbie Young recently, who I invited on. I love cozy crime. And I was like, I am invested now, and I'm going to buy and read all of the series.
Yeah.
And yours are the same. I was like, I'm going to read everything you've put out.
Oh, thank you.
It might take me some time because of the other.
Well, yeah. Oh dear.
That was so good. You had me when she was driving around in the Gimpmobile. I was like, I've got to read all of this.
Yeah.
All of those series is just going to be.
Yeah. Well, the Gimpmobile is a casualty, but further on. So yeah. But the next van also has quite a funny name and story to it as well. So
brilliant. Because she's quite a good character, isn't she? Because she has some knowledge of the police, because she's left.
Yeah.
We're not giving away a spoiler by saying she's an ex-police.
No. So this is it. I mean, this is one of the things that I wanted to kind of differentiate between my series and other cozy crime things. And obviously it's something that Richard Osman has done, because obviously one of his characters is like an ex-spy. But cozy crime, the whole point is normally that the detective, the sleuth, is an amateur. But then I think sometimes that can lead to them making stupid decisions. Or I've read a few books, not any of Jonathan's, I will point out, but I have read a few where you think, well, how does she know that? Like, the author knows it, so they've kind of made her stumble over something. And it's like, would that really happen? But at the same time, I didn't want to write an out-and-out police procedural, because that's far too much research and hard work, quite frankly. I wanted to just be able to make stuff up. but also it means that, you know, if you've got police detectives, police officers, they have to follow the rules all the time. And sometimes, for the sake of like a good story, you don't want them to follow the rules. So I thought if I made her an ex-copper, she knows her way around a crime and a crime scene, and she knows what to look for. But equally, if she wants to go off and do a bit of digging and maybe do something that if she was still a copper, she'd get into a lot of trouble for, she can just go and do it. And like, if she gets caught, she's just like, oh, like idiot, amateur sleuth. She can't get sacked because she's no longer a police officer. So it's kind of like it gives her a bit of freedom, and therefore me a bit of freedom, to just do a few things that are not strictly speaking what you should do if you're investigating a crime. It just gives her a bit of leeway. But at the same time, she doesn't do lucky guesses. She works stuff out. She does investigate properly. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to make sure that I did with this series. I didn't want her just kind of stumbling across clues. She actually has to go look for things, and she has to work stuff out. So yeah, I mean, that's why I've made her an ex-police officer, because I think it's just like gives her that sort of edge over just an amateur sleuth. So
I quite like her, you know, when she's talking about her catering, like she goes and does the what's the one? She goes and talks about like her like menus that she's putting on and stuff. I think they're great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in a later book, someone had left a review, a bit of a stinky review, about the fact that she's meant to be she's meant to be a chef, and she makes a lot of sausage rolls and stuff like that. But I'm like, she's not a chef, she's a caterer. She does people's parties. So if you go to like a wedding reception, you might have a fancy sit down meal, but it depends what the bride and groom want. Or there could be a buffet, and you're catering for like lots of people. It's sausage rolls, sandwiches, quiches. It's like nothing is particularly exciting. And she's like, I went to catering college and I'm making a quiche, and that's kind of as exciting as it gets. But she does actually say that in a later book. And when she gets an opportunity to do something that's a bit more exciting, she really enjoys it. But at the same time, I can't make her catering company too successful, because then she'd be too busy to go over and investigate things. So it is like she's just got to do like birthday parties and things like that, so that it's nothing that's too specialized and things that would take up too much time, because she needs time to go and find murderers, basically. The catering is just, you know, a way of getting her out and about and meeting people and finding dead bodies as well. So yeah.
And to maybe flirt with the local policeman.
And to flirt with the local policeman, yes. I won't say any more about the local policeman, because there's more to come from him, obviously. But yes.
Oh,
I do like a bit of Nathan.
So is he in, like, obviously I've only read, because I had a feeling I was going to like it, right? And I like to read a series in order. So I know that like Sam will often read the latest book first, and that is the right way to do it for the author chats. But if I think I'm going to read the whole series, I start at book one.
Yeah, it's definitely, with this, you can read each one as a standalone. They work perfectly well. But to get all of the characters' backstories and work out all their relationships, you get a lot more from it if you start from the first book. Which I kind of think, if you're writing a series, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Like, obviously, things are going to have happened in previous books that are going to affect what happens in the next book. So if you can start from the beginning, you need to. So all I would say is, if you like Nathan, you'll be happy. If you don't like Nathan, tough. Tough, you're stuck with him.
I think he's interesting, because you sort of start off not liking Nathan in the first book, definitely.
Yeah.
He doesn't start off likable, does he?
No, not at all. But I think at the end of it, you kind of realise why he's being a bit of an arsehole.
Yeah, and as you get through, you kind of sort of go, well, actually, no, quite. Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, yeah. Which is exactly how Jodie feels.
Yeah, Jodie's definitely. I think Jodie feels a bit more strongly.
Well, Jodie can see him. That's the thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that helps.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so funny. Like, I don't know, I can't recall an author chat where I've giggled so much recently. This is great. So book, like you said, you're not planning to end the series anytime soon. You got lots.
No, I mean, it's funny. When I first started, I was contracted to write 3 books. So I kind of thought, it's 3 books. That's it. We'll see how they go. And then I got signed to do another 3 books. And then I got signed to do another 2 books. And now they're looking at potentially another 5 books. So, because I just thought I couldn't imagine writing that long running a series, because I thought, how do I do this without repeating myself? But then this is why Jodie is like a caterer and she goes around to different places, because it means I don't have to, although they're all set in Cornwall, it means they don't all have to be set in the same small town, which I think a lot of cozy mysteries are set around a very small community. But then I think that limits the amount of stories you can have. So every time I've kind of signed another contract, I've thought, oh, well, that's it. It's only another 2 books, or it's only another 3 books. And I'm writing like the last book that I'm contracted for at the moment, number 8, which is out next year. But then I was thinking, oh, I could have her finding someone there. Well, that's a good place to have a murder. This is the thing, see, I go out now and I'll be like, oh, that's a fantastic place to hide a dead body. Or, well, you could really hide someone in there, or you could do someone in with that. That would be really good. So I've kind of come up with all these other sort of places where she could come across murders and stuff like that. So yeah, potentially another 6 if you count the one that I'm already writing. But we're still talking about that. But I think they're very happy with how the series has gone so far. So I think it's probably on the cards there'll be another 5 at least. So I might have run out of ideas for Jodie into that one, but yeah, we'll see. But no comment at the moment. Yeah.
Well, that is good news for people who are fans.
Yes, well, hopefully they'll keep buying, and then HarperCollins will keep signing me. So they'll be happy with.
What made you write them in Cornwall? So you started in Auckland, you were saying.
Yes. Well, you see, I've moved around a lot in my life. I grew up in London, in South London. Moved around sort of Surrey a bit. Met my husband, moved back to London. He was actually born in Cornwall and had always wanted to live in Cornwall, so we moved to Cornwall. Lived in Cornwall for a year. Couldn't get a job for a year, so we ended up moving back to London. Then we moved to New Zealand. Then we missed everyone and we moved back when we lived in Hastings on the south coast. Then we missed New Zealand, so we moved back to New Zealand. And then we missed everyone again and thought, yeah, New Zealand isn't as good as we were thinking it was. And we've moved here to Norfolk. And I'm not moving again ever. Certainly not country. I'm staying in Norfolk forever. So yeah, so I knew Cornwall quite well, we lived in St Ives, like I said, for about a year. It might have been a bit longer. So I knew it really well. And also when I was talking to HarperCollins, they'd read Dead in Venice and the follow-up Murder Ahoy, and they wanted to sign me, but they didn't want those books. But they wanted me to write something that was like a cozy mystery. And they were saying that a lot of them are based in kind of rural areas. So I said, well, what about Cornwall? Because I know Cornwall. My mum actually lives in Devon. My sister lives with her. So, I mean, Penstowen, the village in the books, is actually based on an amalgamation of Bude in Cornwall and Holsworthy, which is the little town where my mum lives. So things like the OAP's coffee morning in the church hall, my mum goes to that. So that's found its way into the book. And so it's all things like that. That's why I set it around Cornwall, because I know it really well. And it also gives me a really good excuse to go down to Cornwall for holidays, because then it's research, isn't it? So, yeah, I love Cornwall. So it's a beautiful part of the country. And like I said, when I was writing it and I was sitting in New Zealand, sitting in my house in Auckland, yeah, it made me feel a bit homesick. But, you know, it gave me the excuse to look at lovely photographs of our time in St Ives and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, Cornwall's lovely. So it's a kind of a no-brainer to write about a place that you love, isn't it? And that you know really well and that other people love. So
it is lovely. It's not an area I know that well.
Yeah, you need to go down there on holiday. It is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't drive, which is going to be a bit of a problem with that.
Yeah, the public transport down there is appalling.
No, it's wild getting that. So my sister-in-law lives in Devon. I've been to Devon a bit.
Yeah,
a few times. But we literally have flown to Devon like the last few times we've been.
Yeah. No,
it's like ridiculous. It's like 5 hours, I think, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah. Well, I drove there a few times to see my mum, and bear in mind she's in Devon, so she's right at the kind of the beginning of Cornwall. She's on the border of Devon and Cornwall. And from Hastings, it used to take about 6 hours. And then now that I'm in Norfolk, it should only take the same amount of time, but it really doesn't. It takes like a whole day. It can take about 8 hours to drive there, so it's a nightmare. But I just remind myself that when I lived in Auckland, it would take like 27 hours on the plane, and that would only get me to Heathrow. And then I'd still have to get in a car and drive down there. So I can't really complain too much about the journey. It's better than it was. So
fair enough. Sarah's asked if you've got a favourite author.
Oh, I've got loads actually. I would say one of my favourite is Terry Pratchett. I absolutely love Terry Pratchett. I've read I would say all of his books, but he's written so many books that there's probably a few I haven't read. I don't think I've read like his kids ones particularly, but things like Good Omens, I love that. I love all the Weird Sisters books as well. I love the fact that he's really funny, and although he's writing fantasy again, it's kind of realistic. If you take out the things like the dragons and all that, he's quite sort of political in some ways.
It's satirical, isn't it? It's like a satire of real life.
Yeah, so I love that, because I think as well as being funny, he was so clever. So he's my favourite. But then I do love other things like I love the Rivers of London series by what's his name, Ben Aronovich, if that's how you say it. So he's brilliant as well. Again, that's quite funny, and again, it's sort of fantasy, but it's crime as well. So it's one of those things where the fantasy elements are still sort of balanced out by the realistic bits, which is great. I love that. And I suppose the other one that I really love is Jane Harper, just like straight crime fiction. All of her stuff is brilliant. I always sort of say I want to be Jane Harper when I grow up. I think that's too late, isn't it, really? I'd love to be able to write something that was kind of serious, but it never happens. I always end up getting like a toilet gag or something in there somewhere. There's always a joke in it somewhere.
We're gonna finish this chat as besties, by the way.
Yeah.
I've not read Jane Harper. Genuinely one of my all-time favourite authors. Absolutely adore anything he writes.
Yeah.
And Ben Aronovich, love Rivers of London.
Yeah, they're so good. So good. I mean, this was one of the ones where I read the first one, and then I immediately got onto Amazon and bought the box set of the rest of them. It was like you, I found someone. I'm going to read everything that he writes now. So I've got everything, and I'm just waiting for something else.
I'm missing like maybe a couple of the novellas.
Yeah, I think there's a relatively new novella that I haven't got, but I've got all the others. So yeah.
But I've read a lot of them, and I've even dipped into the graphic novels.
Oh, I haven't looked at those yet.
And I keep being tempted by his he's got some RPG rules, so you can like tabletop role play.
Oh right.
Rivers of London, which is very tempting, but I only tend to RPG at school, so I'm not sure if we can Rivers of London at school.
Yeah, maybe not. Might be a bit too grown up.
We'll probably find a way. I could work it out.
Sneak in. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, love it. Great choices.
They're really, really good. Actually, so I do also really like Richard Osman again. Not just because he helped sell my books, but I resisted reading the first one for ages because it was like, another bloody celebrity thinks they can write.
But you can actually write, yeah.
I read it and I thought, oh shit, you can actually write. Oh,
and they get better as they go as well.
Yeah, I just recently read the last one in the Thursday Murder Club, and it made me cry. And if a book makes me cry, then
don't tell me that. I've still got that to read.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you why you will cry. It's not, it's not a major character. Okay. You will cry. You will cry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That might move up my pile slightly with books. I'm looking at it. I can see it.
Yeah. Read it, but have some tissues handy towards the end.
Sarah's asked if you go to any book festivals.
Do you know, I don't. Well, I haven't because I've been in New Zealand, and it's really difficult to get around in New Zealand. Like they don't. All the cities are like so far apart, and like literally you do have to fly between them, and that's not just because it's easier. It's the only way to get there. They have fewer trains than they do in Cornwall. So I never really went to any there. I think I went to one once in Auckland years and years ago before I was actually writing. Since I've been in England, I haven't been into any since I've been back. I've only been back about a year and a half. When actually I went to Harrogate, that must have been 2018, I think. Because when I wrote Dead in Venice, my first book, I actually sent it off to Audible for they had this crime writing competition, and it was one of the finalists, and they actually published it. So it came out on audiobook long before I actually self-published the print and the ebook versions. And they had this big thing at Harrogate where they were launching the winner of this competition, which wasn't me, and my book and the other runner-up, their book as well. So I went along to Harrogate for that, and that was good fun. It was good fun, but I kind of missed the boat a bit this year. I've had so many other things going on this year. I was really tempted to go to Harrogate, but like I've been all over the place, and the last couple of weeks I've barely been home, and I'm going away again next month, and it's like I can't really go to Harrogate. But no, I kind of need to get back into seeing what's around with things like book festivals. What are the best book festivals to go to if you're?
I don't know, because I don't go to that many.
No,
because they all tend to start midweek, which is annoying.
Yeah.
And I don't really have the kind of job where I can.
No, you can't.
Doodle off like midweek to things. So Harrogate's good. We have one That's good.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I had to miss the UK CBC live one. I mean, my son being 21 years old, the same, well, it wasn't the same weekend, but that was when we ended up having this family party. It was the same weekend because no one could do it any other time. And it's like, I kind of have to be there, don't I?
Yeah, you do. No, fair enough. I'm a big fan of Bradford Lit Fest.
Ah. Yes, I think I've seen some photos online of that. It all looks like it was good fun.
Yeah, that's really good and has a really big range of stuff that's really good.
Yeah, I definitely, I think, need to investigate a few. I nearly went to Iceland Noir last
year. That's amazing. But yeah, Bradford's like spread across the city as well, which is nice.
Oh right. Oh, that's nice because then you get to see the city as well, don't you? So that's what
it is in Bradford.
Well, I'm not saying anything. I've never been there, so could be a jewel in the crown.
Yeah, it has a really lovely Waterstones. Has one of the nicest Waterstone bookshops in the country, so that it's worth it for that.
Yeah.
And then bloody Scotland always looks good, but I've not been.
No, it just gets expensive, doesn't it? I mean, with things like that, if you go, you've got to stay in a hotel for a night or two, depending on how long you're there for, and it just all adds up, doesn't it? It all starts to get very expensive. So I'm waiting for the people who organise Harrogate to invite me and pay to put me up. But I might be waiting a while, so we'll have to see about that.
Sarah says Huddersfield Literature Festival. I've not actually been to that yet.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I will have to keep an eye out for all of these, but I think it'll probably be next year now that
You will, and we're just recommending you northern ones because we go.
Yeah. I'm kind of, well, as I'm in Norfolk, I'm kind of in the middle, so I can kind of
crime. Could do Capital Crime.
Oh yeah, no, I can.
London.
Yeah, that's all right. I can get to London quite easily.
Yeah, so, Capital Crime probably worth looking at.
Yeah, I'll have to have a go at some of these. But like I said, I totally missed the boat with most of these this year because loads of them have already been and gone, haven't they? And like obviously Harrogate's this weekend, so I've missed them. Never mind. Next year.
I'm going to Harrogate this weekend.
Excellent. That'll be fun. That'll be good fun.
And if Sarah reminds me on Friday, I'll even remember to take a book for her.
Take the book. Take the book.
I will. It's there. I can see it. I hoped if I left it somewhere I could see that I would take it with me.
Well, you're in for a treat, Sarah, because Jonathan's books are they're good. Well, it's lovely now actually because we're kind of writer buddies now. We haven't met, but we talk to each other a lot on social media and everything, and we now read each other's books. So he gives me quotes for mine, and I give him quotes for his, and it's really handy that we both like each other's books because otherwise it'd be like I'm never. People always say, "Oh, you know, you see all these quotes from other authors. Do they actually read the books, or is it just because they're mates?" Well, a lot of the time, it's both. And if your mate gives you a book and you don't like it, you do end up having to make an excuse because no one wants to put their name to something that they didn't actually think was any good. So if you see my name in an Amazon listing of someone else's book, I've read it and I do genuinely like it. But
I believe that, and actually, that is one of the things where I have bought books because it's had a quote on from an author that I know I really like.
Yeah.
Charlene Harris used to be a good one. I love Charlene Harris's books. And like I saw another series once and Charlene Harris was like on the front cover saying this is like, and I was like, well, do you know what I mean? Charlene Harris is recommending it.
Yeah, exactly. So you think, oh, I probably like that. Yeah, I know sometimes it looks like, well, there's so many quotes on there from other authors. They can't possibly all have read it. But that's one of the big things that just before your book comes out, that's what your publisher does is send them out to, you know, other writers that you know or writers that are writing in the same genre. And you kind of all do a bit of a book swap But I've definitely had books that I've read and I've not liked, and I've said, well, I shouldn't say this, I won't say who it was, but books that I've not liked, and I've just said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to read it, or I can't read it now in time for, to get a quote on the back of the book, so I'll read it later. But it's because I've started it and I thought, I don't like this. So yeah, all those quotes are genuine.
Sarah's also recommending you Boston Book Festival. She went to it recently. And the Boston's in Lincolnshire, so that's going to be cool.
That's far from me then. Oh, I'll have to look out for that. I hadn't even heard of that one. But that's not far at all. Lincolnshire is probably 3 hours.
We kind of, it sort of touches, doesn't it, onto East Anglia, just like Peterborough, kind of.
Yeah.
I think if I'm right.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
Hull as well.
Yeah.
The opposite way, doesn't it?
I'll have to, nearer the time, you all need to put it on the Facebook page. Just mention.
We'll remind you.
Remind me. So yeah, we can all meet up. That'd be lovely.
I would have thought you'd be really in demand at all of these things because the books are so popular.
Well, I think the thing is, because I was living in New Zealand when they all started taking off, obviously I didn't get invited to any of these things because I was on the other side of the world. And even if they wanted me, they weren't going to pay my plane fare. So I think I probably need to give my agent a nudge and just say, I'd like to go to Harrogate, but I don't want to pay for a ticket. Go on, get them to invite me. Put me on a panel. But yeah, well, you never know. So that next year, I might well be going to some of the festivals, but I might be appearing. You never know.
Which would be great. You'd be so good on a panel.
Oh, I'd love to do a panel, actually. It would be good. I was really looking forward to the UK CBC live one, but
I'm squirreling you away for future panels.
Yes,
you'll be invited back. Trust me. You're on the list now of people that are going to be. You're on my even if it's not a live event, you'll definitely be on a panel at some point because you're on the list of good panel people.
That's because I just keep talking. I can talk absolute rubbish for hours if I need to.
Which is fabulous. That's what we want on these things.
In another life, I would have been a great TV presenter because I would have just kept talking. So.
Oh, the news. Yeah, you could have been on the news doing
yeah. Oh, and today on the news. No, I wouldn't be actually. I couldn't be serious. So. We'll see. If the book stops selling, I might have to start auditioning. So.
Venture into teaching. That's always good if you can waffle on.
Yes. I don't know if I'd have the patience now to deal with children. Like my son, obviously, is now 21, and that's like I've done my child rearing bit. I'm not rearing anyone else's children.
So we've got very far off of the series. We've toodled our way quite far.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah, we've only got 10 minutes left as well.
I know. I'm gonna have to ask you something else book related at least, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what are you writing at the moment about?
So at the moment, I've got a couple of things on the go. So I'm writing book 8 in the Cornish series, which will be the Cornish Castle Murder. And I can't say anything about that as you haven't read the other books because spoilers. So if I even mention kind of where the setting of it, so I won't talk about that. I have got another series that I've started writing, which has been really good fun because I haven't sold the idea yet. So it means I haven't got any deadlines or anything for it. I just dip into it when I feel like doing it. And that is about another retired police officer, but this time she is like backpacking around Europe, she's having like a gap year, a belated gap year for her 50th year, and to like to celebrate the fact that she's retired, and things don't go as planned, put it that way. So there'll be books set, hopefully, if I manage to, or my agent manages to sell the idea, books set in various different places in Europe. So the first one is set in Paris, and then there'll be further ones set in like Venice and Barcelona and Prague, and places that I've been to and I really, really loved. And then it also gives me an excuse to go back again. So that kind of thing. So, and they won't all necessarily be murder mysteries, but they'll all be kind of crime things, and it'll be kind of like on the cozy side of things again. So, you know, nothing too gory or anything like that. So I'm working on that in between the Jodie books. Yeah, and I'm waiting to be able to share this massive news about my other book, Dead in Venice, and that might lead to me having to do some work as well. So we'll see about that. But I will burst if I can't tell people soon. Honestly, I feel like I had to keep it under wraps for months.
First to know.
You will be the first to know. Honestly. Well, to be fair, everyone on the internet will be the first to know, because I will just like explode over the internet.
What we want. Sarah says, what would your internet searches say about you?
Well, at the moment, actually, it's not bad, because I'm going to Singapore on holiday in a couple of weeks. And so at the moment, when I'm supposed to be writing, I'm looking up things to do in Singapore. And I've been putting together an itinerary and like how to get to places on the train and all that sort of thing. So my search history at the moment is quite innocent, but based in Singapore. But yeah, other stuff I've had to do is I've had to do things like where's the best place to score heroin in Berlin? How long does a body take to decompose in water? Can you tell if someone's head has been cut off post-mortem? Yeah, so I must be on a watch list somewhere, put it that way. It's a typical crime writer's search history. I think it's a bit dodgy. So
I think, yeah, you've got to worry about it, don't you? I'm fairly sure I'm on some kind of watch list for.
Yeah. Do you know, I don't care if I am. I actually feel sorry for anyone if they had to investigate me, because like I'm so middle-aged and like boring in my lifestyle. It's like I'm not a threat to anybody. I just have a little bit of a dark imagination. So.
Mine's probably just more the random science stuff I've bought over the years.
That's it, isn't it? I think a lot of it is just very random, and then yeah.
So then you put it together. Like I bought quite innocently for something like, well, something relatively innocent. I bought some potassium nitrate, which is like an ingredient of gunpowder. And at the same time, it was like, you might want to buy fuse wire. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And then my husband's like, you know, you're on some kind of watch list now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, I'll visit you in prison, so it'll be fine.
It's just, it's like a food preservative, potassium nitrate, and like a skunk killer. So you can buy it for like innocent purposes.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is also an ingredient of gunpowder. I didn't have any of the other ingredients.
No.
I'm not.
Just as well. You'd have had a knock on the door by now if you bought it.
Possibly. I was like, why are you suggesting I buy these things together?
Yeah, it's not good, is it really?
Interesting. But so we've done your favourite authors. What have you read recently and enjoyed?
So I read the final Thursday Motor Club. Very much enjoyed that. That was brilliant. What else have I read recently? I'm trying to think now. Gosh, I should have thought of this, shouldn't I? I've because I'm getting fairly well known now as a writer. I get a lot of publishers sending me books, and there's one publisher in particular who keeps sending me these translations of Japanese crime fiction, and they're already out, so they're not really asking me for a quote or anything, but just like, oh, we really like Fiona, so would she like to read this book? Which is like lovely, okay. So I actually read one of that, what's it called, the No Mark Murder or something. I can't even remember who it's by now. But that was really good because that was fascinating. It was set in Tokyo after the war, after the Second World War, and it was just like a period of time and a place that I know nothing about, and there's a murder mystery in it, and it was just absolutely fascinating to read something that was so different to what I'd normally read. So things like that, I quite like reading things that are, you know, a little bit different to what I normally do. But yeah, I can't think. I've read a few things recently. I can't think what it is I've read. But definitely, anyone that hasn't read the Thursday Murder Club books, they need to go and read them because they are good. As much as we don't want celebrity writers getting all the best book deals, he can actually write. So yeah, so definitely recommend that.
I think that's a hard one to go down, isn't it? It's like, this was one of the original questions I was going to ask you about being a cozy author, because I think a lot of people kind of buck against that, don't they? Mm-hmm. You know, like you said, there's an impression of like cozy things, and I think it's changing a bit with Richard Osman.
Yeah, I think so. I think people are realizing that it doesn't mean, you know, that it's all, it's not necessarily like Midsummer Murders or Miss Marple, which, you know, are both great, but not terribly realistic now. They are literally just crime fiction with the worst swear words taken out, no terrible gore, no sex. So when I first started and I said to someone that, you know, my books have got no swearing, no violence, and no sex, it felt like I also needed to add no fun. But that's not like that at all. They are still fun. They concentrate more on the mystery side of it rather than looking at the mechanics of how someone's dismembered somebody. It's more like the investigation and the mystery behind it all. So yeah, I think if you like trying to solve a crime in a book, you don't necessarily need to have the kind of the gore and the graphic sort of description of stuff like that. You can kind of still join in with the investigation, I think, from your armchair without having any of that, really. It just kind of concentrates on, I suppose, the intellectual side of a murder investigation, although I hesitate to call my books intellectual. But, you know, they're just not gory.
But I think that is why people choose to read it, isn't it? Like you said, it's more of the mystery. Yeah. And I think, are you quite happy to sort of embrace being a cozy author?
Yeah. I think at first I was a bit unsure because I didn't even really know that cozy mystery existed until they asked me to start writing it. But yeah, because I think it's you're creating characters that you care about. To me, that's the main thing, is the characters above everything else. So for me to have characters that you care about, it's great to have the opportunity to do that and to write a series that's long running enough that people feel like they've got to know them. So that's really nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly like reading really gritty crime novels myself. So I was never going to write something like that. I mean, even Dead in Venice, that has got gore and stuff in it, is not like that because it's got a lot of humour in it to kind of alleviate the nasty bits. So yeah, I quite like being cozy mystery writer, which is just as well, really.
And then we've got a minute left.
Oh, right, okay.
So remind everyone what they're going to go away and buy, because I could talk to you for hours. I feel like if we don't stop, we're just going to be here.
We've bonded, love. We've bonded, and we could just keep talking, but we can't because I actually have to go and pick my son up in a minute. So
exactly,
yeah. So anyway, what I will do is I will just show you that's book one, which obviously you've read.
Yeah,
And
it's fabulous.
thank you very much. So that's book one. This is Jodie moving back to Cornwall from having had 20 years in the Met and living in London. That's where it all begins. This is the latest one, but there are 5 others in between. So you kind of need to start at book one and then work your way up, I think. And then, of course, there's my self-published one. Big news coming soon for that one. And that's about Bella, who's a crime writer and is obviously set in Venice. Yeah. So if you like murder mysteries that are funny as well and have got characters that you care about, go and look me up on Amazon.
Do. Yeah.
Yes.
They
Now.
have my seal of approval. Go now and start downloading. And a lot of them are on Kindle Unlimited as well.
Yeah, they are, which is really good. I think definitely the first couple, I think, are in Kindle Unlimited, and then there seem to be random ones that the publisher puts in every now and again, and they drop the price as well quite regularly. And then keep an eye out. You can grab yourself a bargain.
And then all that's left to say is thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's lovely. It was really good fun.
And we'll be seeing you again soon.
You will, definitely. And I'll be at the next live event thing as well. Just don't do it on my son's birthday.
I'll try not to.
He'll be 22 next year, so it won't be as important. I can miss it. Oh dear.
That's so funny. Thank you.
Thank you. It's lovely to talk to you.